really see myself, but are we live? I think we're back. Are we back? I can see myself, so we've got some progress here. There's definitely a lot that I want to talk to everybody about tonight, so I'm really hoping we can get this off the ground. I can see myself. Can you all confirm in the chat if we're back or if it's Jover still? There it is. All right, we got it. We are back in business. Excellent. All right, everybody, let's go ahead and start from scratch. Let's see if we can get those likes nudged once again. Let's bring back the momentum. We are here live in the Weather Center at a very odd time. It is 8:21 p.m. on October 15th. Glad to see that the outage has sorted itself out. That was weird. Makes you wonder if that's some kind of a sign. You never know. We are in the point in the year now where things tend to get a little superstitious and spooky. I can't even get over the fact that we predicted we'd be tracking one heck of a signal as we get into late October, close to Halloween, and it's happening. We don't have the storm just yet, but we are already tracking the signal that we had watched, or I should say projected, from way back at the very start of the calendar year. I'll take that as a huge win. We're here. We're in the hot seat tonight. We're going to talk tropics with everybody. Let's please get those likes up. I need those now more than ever because supposedly the YouTube search engine optimizer apparently despises when you delete videos, and I had to delete the previous iteration of this live stream after whatever goofed everything up. So please, let's blow up the like button. Let's get the algorithm to get back on our side with this, and then we will get off the ground. Let me go ahead and open up the chat. Let's pull it front and center. I'm going to try to avoid using the Epic Pen tonight. For some strange reason, that thing loves to get all funky whenever I start to do live streams. So I'm going to try to avoid it, and I'm going to go ahead and just use my cursor once we get started. So welcome to the Weather Center. We are live tonight. It is Wednesday, once again, 8:23 in the evening on your Wednesday night, October 15th, 2025. And it seems like we are tracking something that could possibly try to show itself in the Caribbean. We're going to talk all about it. It's a great time to be with everyone. And that's the main reason I wanted to talk tonight. I wanted us to have a conversation more than me spending 15-ish minutes rattling off all the info as fast as I can to get a video out. No, I think this really deserves a chat. This way I can also talk with you all, actually communicate the big picture and look at all the possibilities. You can't really do that in a video. You can, but it's not as fun. I like to talk with you all when stuff like this hits the fan. So with that being said, we'll go ahead and just rock right in. I'm going to keep my face up. To tell you the truth, I'm not surprised by what we see here on National Hurricane Center. We are still right at, I think, the threshold of 7 days. Some of our computer models do try to nudge this thing into life, into action in the Central Caribbean right at around the day 6 to 7 threshold, but more so around the 7th and 8th day. I think we are still right on that brink of tipping over into that 7-day window. So I think at the very latest, early Friday morning, we see a blip. We should probably bullseye. I'm getting an error on YouTube for some strange reason. It shows everything is good on my end, but I'm getting an error. Gosh, these YouTube... There we go. Okay, wait a second. We just lost it. What just happened? Are you guys still receiving me? Looks like YouTube just dropped the stream for some strange reason. Everybody good in the chat, please let me know. I don't think that is me once again. I think this is also YouTube. It's got to be YouTube because everything looks fine on my side. I've got a great signal on OBS. Everything looks okay on my end. I'm not too sure. It's got to still be some latency with YouTube. So we're going to just keep trucking along. So if you all can hear me okay, basically I think it's still a little early for us to see a blip down there. I think as we go through tomorrow, if not Friday at the very latest, is when we will finally see a yellow blip. And my buddy Jonathan over at News 6, we both fully agree that once that happens, it's pretty much all hands on deck. That's when we'll have eyes on it with National Hurricane Center. Hopefully we get an invest designation down the road, and we are buffering again. This is weird. I can't even see. What a bummer. This is garbage. This is garbage. I don't know what's going on with YouTube tonight because it keeps dropping the YouTube stream altogether. It keeps coming and going, coming and going. It's not like we're lagging. It just keeps dropping the connection. I can see it. It's got to be a YouTube issue still, which is a huge bummer. Wow, we have a number of people tuning in tonight as well, which is awesome. I don't understand what's going on. This is brutal, though. I'm really considering just shooting a short video after this either way. Yeah, that is bizarre. I don't know why advertisements are still working. That's trash. I'm getting all. This is like a bad car engine, or this is like a lemon from a lemon lot, because I'm getting all kinds of weird warnings that I've never seen before. Literally, I have something that says warn it. Now it says no data again. Now it says we're not streaming at all. I have no clue what's going on. No clue what's going on. Now it says excellent connection. So we're going to try to rattle off as much as we can right now. You know what? For those of you still watching, if you can hear me, just go ahead and if you could be so sincerely kind, and I mean this from the bottom of my heart, if you're brand new to the channel, just smash the like button, hit that subscribe button, join the conversation, join the community. We're going to talk about this eventually because there is a lot that we need to decipher. Now it says we've got excellent connection. It says we're good. I don't know why we went back and forth there. I got some weird warnings for a moment there. I'd never seen them before. I've seen genuine lag with my computer system. That wasn't it. It looks like it's acting up once again for some strange reason. This is wild. Very, very wild. I'll try dropping a couple settings on my end just to be on the safe side. All right. All right. Good evening to everybody. I'm glad that you all can see me. This is very weird. Yeah, YouTube is having some pretty bad outages right now. And Kevin says, screw tube. I like it. We're all coming up with all sorts of fun things. All right, so I dropped some settings over on my end to see if that'll work. And we'll just keep rocking with it. That's right. It could be the shutdown. They're shutting down the YouTube servers as well. All right, perfect. Hopefully that'll do the trick. I went ahead and slowed things down on my end. OBS still looks good. We're not eating up a lot of CPU, and the bit rate seems to be holding steady. So let's try again one more time. Okay, welcome back to the stream. I really appreciate those who are hitting the like button. Thank you very much. For those of you who haven't done so already, please do so. Yeah, see, I don't understand what's going on. It's got to be YouTube still trying to get funky with the connection. Everything looks good now. It says excellent. So we're going to just rock with it and see what we can get through. So, pardon me, I have my water here. So right now, it seems like we're still a little too early. Yeah, I know. I'm talking way too slow now. I'm just going to get right into it. So I'll get to the chat here in a moment. We're going to go ahead and get started. Epic Pen is not going to be utilized tonight because we've got a lot of lag right now, so I'm just going to go ahead and use my cursor, but this is going to be the general area that we're watching, the Caribbean. We're expecting a tropical wave, a fairly decent tropical wave to move through the Windward Islands, the Lesser Antilles, as we go over the next 6 days, give or take 5 or 6 days. And then it does seem like we can start to get a little bit of action with it as it wanders into a more favorable quadrant of the Caribbean, particularly south of Jamaica and the Cayman Islands. That is going to be my predictor right there, or my prediction. I don't think this is going to be something that happens just beyond the Lesser Antilles. I don't think anything's going to happen prior to the Lesser Antilles. I think the GFS showing those iterations on earlier model runs was far overcooked. I really do think that was way overcooked, and that's not what's going to take place. We got to let this thing get into the Caribbean and marinate where our shear is our lowest. Now, we're going to take a wide look at the Atlantic just to get a feel for things. The wave, first of all, in question is right there. That is our tropical wave, and I will zoom us on in there momentarily because it's a healthy-looking wave. It doesn't have a ton of thunderstorm activity with it right now, but we've got some very good moisture and some good convection floating around the monsoon trough extension off of Africa and the intertropical convergence zone. So perhaps that will give it a little reinforcing push of moisture as it continues to follow that off towards the west. This one's going to stay fairly sandwiched to the south. If you look at the cloud signature here, this is our, oh, here we go. We're lagging again. I don't know why. It's definitely YouTube. If you're watching right now and it's all good on your end, it's definitely YouTube just being ridiculous because everything looks fantastic on my end. Everything looks fantastic on my end. I even dropped the settings over on OBS, and everything is still green on that side. We are good. So it's got to be YouTube just being silly on that side. We are good. So it's got to be YouTube just being silly. So we're going to keep going. And this is our tropical wave out there in the deep tropics. A fairly healthy-looking feature. It doesn't have a ton of thunderstorms with it. It's kind of bony at this time, but it does have a really solid mid-level spin. A little too early to determine if it has any low-level circulation. It likely doesn't. It probably is still riding the ITCZ, and it's going to stay down there for quite a bit of time. You can see in our true color visible satellite, though, as the nor'easter system comes further away from the United States and follows the jet stream flow, what that's doing is helping to break down our North Atlantic oscillation. You can kind of get a feel for where your surface high pressure is, and that's probably what's helping to choke the life out of what was once Tropical Storm Lorenzo. I should probably change it to black. All right, now we're rocking again. Thank you so much for all the folks who are tuning in. We've got a little over 300 people in the chat. Let's go ahead and nudge that like button. Let's get the likes up. Let's get the likes up, please. This is the one time I'm actually going to demand that we get the likes up, politely demand and respectfully demand, but this video is wonky, and it's going to look wonky, especially to folks who are watching it after the fact, so we got to make sure we get those likes up to make sure the algorithm pushes it out. So as that nor'easter system, that's a deep occluded low moving just to the northeast of where Bermuda is positioned, that's the low center right there, it's going to disrupt the North Atlantic oscillation, really help to break down our surface high pressure. And because we have two very strong features up there, this occluded low and then this barotropic low off towards the top right-hand corner of the screen, fully detached from the polar front jet stream, that's really going to help to break down the Icelandic low, because that's what dictates what the North Atlantic oscillation looks like. It's a determination of our surface high pressure features, surface low pressure features, and then what the jet stream is doing, and that's what's helping to weaken that. And typically when you're in a negative NAO, you tend to favor not only tropical development, but especially westward moving tropical features. So this is our wave. If you look, the Caribbean right now is probably our most favorable area. We've got a little bit of dry air around in the upper and northeastern extent of that high pressure. That's also guiding Lorenzo's remnants off towards the northeast. So that's going to slowly funnel back down into the deep tropics, but we should be able to nudge this wave off towards the west far enough to stay out ahead of it and try to take advantage of what moisture is still hanging out down there. You look in the Caribbean and you could tell just by looking at the low-level clouds. In fact, I'll take you in for a closer look. You look at the low-level cloud features here. There we go. Hold on, hold on. Let me go ahead and there it is. Now we have caught up. You look at your low level flow through the Caribbean, and you can tell that our trade winds have definitely weakened. We've got a powerful front coming down, reinforcing shot of cooler and drier air coming in from up north, that's for sure. But right now, the Caribbean is probably one of the better places for anything to try to develop. And that's exactly where we're headed. I'll take you out to the eastern Atlantic now so we can get a better view of our wave in question. Once Tropical Tidbits loads up, you'll get a better feel for it. And there it is, front and center. Let me zoom the screen in just a little bit so you all can see that much better. There we go. So there's our tropical wave. Definitely has that look already. You can see a pronounced mid-level spin with that. Most definitely. You can see some southerly winds on the right-hand side of it, a little bit of mid-level northerly flow on the west side of it, the left-hand side of it. Definitely a decent-looking wave, and it's holding on to that mid-level spin pretty well. The thing is, we got to make sure that we can get some convection to wrap up back into it. It's wandering into more favorable moisture, and it's going to ride the convergence there of our ITCZ, so I think we have that going for us. I really don't see this completely poofing. That's been one of the statements running around social media. All the, quote, downcasters out there are saying this thing's going to poof before it even gets close to the Lesser Antilles. I don't think that's what's going to happen. I think we have a better setup in the Atlantic main development region for at least a tropical wave to survive its trip through there. In terms of development, just like we saw with Jerry and then what we just witnessed today with Tropical Storm, now Tropical Depression Lorenzo, as it moves further along and tries to organize, that's when we run into problems. That's when I think we run into problems, especially since we have high pressure trying to build in down across that area. So now this is where it gets interesting. I want to show you immediately what some of our latest ensembles look like. This is why we're seeing a lot of ruckus and a lot of noise on social media, and we're going to decipher everything. So first and foremost, let's get over to the Euro AI. The reason I want to start with the AI is because everybody is worshiping this model. Every meteorologist, every non-meteorologist, every enthusiast, for some strange reason, they are worshiping the artificial intelligence model, especially the ensembles. The deterministic model is doing something funky with this thing in the Central Caribbean, so I'm not too sure why it does what it does. It pulls it into a gyre down across the Caribbean, expands it, kind of looks like a water balloon expanding, filling out, and the vorticity goes off in all sorts of different directions. But this is where it gets interesting. So I'll go ahead and step you through time since we've had 4 different model runs since the last time we met, arguably more than that. These are our zero. There's Willow. Weather Center Willow is finally here for a live stream. These are our 0Z ensembles from earlier this morning. You could see couple early members try to develop south of Puerto Rico, south of the Dominican Republic, and those are the ones that try to get up out of there a little earlier than later. Then you have your stragglers, which I think is our more realistic outcome. We have our stragglers that try to get going between the longitude that separates Jamaica and the Cayman Islands, kind of flirting with Nicaragua, Honduras, and Belize in the Gulf of Honduras down in the Western Caribbean. Those are the ones that try to lift more towards the north in a bit better fashion. You can see it there. This is the end of the run, valid for the night of October 29th. All right, let's go to the 6 Zulu run. You step through the 6Z run. You can see not as many early developers, still trying to show the same general picture as we get into about the 24th to the 25th. This is next Thursday, next Friday, so see how we're still kind of outside that 7-day window, just barely outside. Then once again, right there, screaming at us in the face, it looks like development could occur between Jamaica, Cayman Islands, getting into the Western Caribbean. These ones definitely favor that northeast track. Definitely favor the northeast track. A lot of them are actually trying to really fixate on central western Cuba, the northwest Bahamas, and then, dare I say, the southeast United States. We'll go to 12Z today, and I'm running you through the continuity just to show you that I'm not being reactive, I'm not being responsive to just one model run or anything like that. As we go through the 12Z run from earlier this afternoon, you can see, once again, Very, very subtle note of some early developers. Definitely the window is closing, though. I really don't think that's what's going to happen. The general consensus here is going to be, again, between about what longitude line is that? 75 west and 80 west. Maybe getting out to, we'll go ahead and open up the window to 75 to 85 west longitude. That is where I'm expecting development of this feature. All of our models are calling for it. We would need to see a rapid shift in our favorable conditions in the Caribbean for this thing to peter off, or for something big to come out of the deep tropics to kill it before it gets into the Caribbean. At 12 Zulu, once again, a little bit of a notable uptick, matches the 12Z Euro ensembles as well to the T, really continuing to favor that turn towards the north and then back towards the northeast. I'm hoping that the delay that we've had in our live stream will allow the other DeepMind ensembles to come aboard for 18Z as well, so we can show you that. And then I just took a gander at the 18Z Euro AI ensembles. I was going to say AIFS ensembles. And these ones look a little bit, Willow, stop. I'm going to push you down. I can't stand when you start bumping my hand like that. So here are your 18Z ensembles. Really, really lighten up for something to try to head up towards Western Cuba, the Cayman Islands. Margin of error remains over the north and northwestern Bahamas, and this thing really tries to lift up and focus on the state of Florida. And you saw that now. That's 4 consecutive model runs. 4 consecutive model runs. Today, the Euro ensembles were definitely a bit of a wake-up call. Not going to lie to you. I even started to take them a little bit more serious. That's why I wanted to go ahead and talk tropics with you all in a conversation. So 18Z, obviously, they only go out about 144 hours. You can see the ensemble members do get in there. There's a couple of early developers hugging the northern coastline of Venezuela and Colombia down there. Only a couple of them. Just beyond that, I really do think we look to see development. Again, this is not inside the 75 to 85 west longitude, but I will show you the 12Z ensembles because, they definitely have my eyes wide open. I don't want you all to be concerned. I don't want you all to worry about this at all whatsoever, but they've opened my eyes. This is about day 8, day 9, and then into day 10. We've got a lot of major hurricane ensembles here. A lot of major hurricane ensembles there. That's definitely concerning. It's definitely concerning, and I hope that you can hear that in the tone of my voice because, again, this could be a landlocked feature. Regardless of if it makes it to the United States, this has a high ceiling if things continue to align the way that they are. This has a high ceiling. And that's my greatest concern right now. I'm not looking at I am looking at the tracks. I'm looking at the trends. The trends are all kind of singing the same song here. But what I'm really looking at here is the position of where we could see development and the ceiling of this formation. And if you look at this is as we get into Sunday night, October 26th, into very early Monday morning. We've got a lot of Cat 4, Cat 5 members right there. And if you go a little further in time, they all follow the artificial intelligence models, and they come on up. A lot of strong members in that run. A lot of strong members. This is the heftiest model run that we've seen in over the last 36 to 48 hours. The ensembles have all been ticking up. They've all been ticking up. So this has my eyes wide open. We have not seen a signal like this all hurricane season. And one of my other concerns that's runner-up to the ceiling for this type of event, and notice I'm not saying landfall, I'm not saying impacts, I'm not saying anything like that. What I'm saying here is the ceiling for this event. The ceiling. We've got a lot of untapped potential. We've got a powder keg down there in terms of not only our thermal energy from the water, but our upper level energy as well if the divergence and the flow that we have in place holds steady. I mean, just to put it into perspective, that is a Category 5 member right there off the coast of Tampa. 928 millibars headed for West Florida. You don't want to see that. You don't even want to see one ensemble member headed towards the Gulf Coast of Florida like that, especially with all the folks who were still displaced after last hurricane season. Kevin in the chat right now is one of them. So this opens my eyes big time. But those are my two biggest concerns right now. Not necessarily the track, not necessarily the impacts, not necessarily the intensity. What I'm looking at right now is the formation, where it could form up, and the ceiling for it. Because if this does develop, this could go big. We've got a huge margin of error here. This is not like Debbie of last year. This is not like Imelda off the east coast of Florida. It's either going to be nothing or it's going to be big. Period. Shooting cut and dried with you guys tonight. That's why I wanted to have this conversation. Let's go ahead and we're going to jump over here real fast just because I want to see if we've gotten our 18Z ensembles yet for the DeepMind models. We should have. There we go. Okay, so we have, let's go ahead and zoom in. For some strange reason, the FNV3 went ahead and jogged west. So let's go ahead and see if we've held that trend. I'm not too sure why this model all of a sudden jumped left. Nope, so it looks like we're diverging again. Looks like we're hooking back towards the north. This is at the 10-day mark. And notice that we've already got some bullish ensemble members down in there, near the same longitude lines that we just discussed between 75 and 85 west. We're going to go all the way to the end of the run, and we're going to see what happens here. They're all showing that curve. They're all showing the curve. And that's, again, a healthy signal. That's another thing that has kind of bred confidence in some of us more reliable forecasters. That's another thing, too, is the fact that the AI ensembles, the ones that folks had been praising over the last 2 days now, since the wave had splashed down off the coast of Africa, they've stopped the back and forth. They've stopped oscillating. And that's another thing I wanted to talk to you all about and walk you through step by step on a live discussion as opposed to a video. If you all recall, back during, we'll say, Saturday, Sunday, Monday, leading up to splashdown when this wave came off of Africa, the ensembles, there were some runs that were healthy looking, but then immediately after that, 6 hours later, it would almost drop the signal altogether. And then we would get another 6-hour update, and the model was back. And then it was over. And then it was back. And then it was over until it splashed down. If I go back to 12Z earlier today, notice the signal looks pretty much the same. However, they're all biasing more to the left, and I'll never understand that. I don't know why the 12Z for the DeepMind ensembles were such a one-off. There you go. Notice how we're all facing towards the left here. Now, this does line up with what the operational Euro had shown earlier today. I can show you that at your request. I don't want to pull it up, but if you all want to see what the operational Euro today showed, I can pull that up for you all just so it's out there, just so we rip the Band-Aid off. But this was 12 Zulu earlier today. A couple more weaker members in there that definitely flooded the chart, and they're a lot more compact. If you notice, we do have roughly the same amount of members here, but they're all squished together going into Nicaragua, Honduras, and Belize. You go back to 6Z, now we're seeing more of that bifurcation. Same amount of the members, but now we're seeing that spread. And see, what I'm really trying to communicate here is notice how the signal really doesn't change. Had I shown you model runs from back on Sunday, Monday, leading up to when the wave came off of Africa, we were looking a little more like this. A little bit more kind of ruffled in the feathers, a bit of a disheveled look. Now we're starting to see that consistency, and it's very interesting that, especially at 18 Zulu, we're really starting to go back up towards the north, and good Lord, that's why my voice just cut out. Good Lord, I just now saw that 891 member right there. Jeez. Here we go. We got our first troll in the chat. Typical Discordian Floridian says Central American Guard again. Huh? Y'all have been saying that since late September, and this is going into late October. Please go into my videos and double check when I said that Central America is on guard, because I'm pretty sure I haven't said that at all, and that's precisely why it is I'm on live discussion right now saying that this is changing the pace of the hurricane season because we haven't had anything down there. So if you're going to try to call me out, first off, get your evidence in line. And second of all, actually have some supporting theories and receipts to back up your claims. Because that's, again, to echo my earlier sentiments, my biggest concern with this is the trade or the pattern and the rhythm we followed this hurricane season has been far from impactful. And in terms of, I do see somebody else in the comments saying the gyre. I'm going to point this out again as well, and I've said this several times in other videos. There's a difference between a tropical system and the gyre. There's a massive difference. The gyre coming back could possibly spawn in a tropical system. There's levels to this. We're going to go over to our DeepMind Gen C ensemble. Let's see if this one's come in. Not yet. The Gen C has always been a little late to the party. The Gen C at 18, I mean, not at 18Z, I'm sorry, at 12 Zulu definitely looked a little bit more ominous as well. We'll go all the way to the end of the run, and you can see really showing that curving back towards the right. Okay, now this is why I'm concerned about this track and why it is that I'm starting to lose confidence that the crashing into Mexico, crashing into the Yucatan is starting to disappear. It's because of how progressive our pattern is. The jet stream is fairly aggravated. We're into a time period called transition season, where we're coming out of the summertime setup and we're going fully into the fall, in which case we're going to start to have stronger pushes of cooler air coming down. And in fact, we're already seeing it because Storm Prediction Center has an elevated risk for strong thunderstorms, severe weather for Dixie Alley, the central and southern plains as we go through this upcoming Saturday, because we've got some leftover summertime style conditions and moisture over the south, but we've got fall trying to make its entry in. On top of that, I really want you all to take in the pattern with me. If you look at what happens out over the North Pacific, we've got a nice, what's called Rossby wave train coming across the North Pacific. And as a result, we're going to continue to see troughs and ridges. We're going to stay in what's called a meridional pattern for an extended period of time. I don't think that this is going to be more zonal. None of our ensembles, especially any of our mean ensembles, show that same subtropical ridge, negative PNA pattern setting up that saved us from Sarah, from Raphael, from Nadine last hurricane season. I'm just not seeing that. I really don't see it. It seems like we're definitely going to be in a far more meridional pattern, which means that a trough and a cold front will probably be waiting in the wings to pick whatever this is up. And as we get halfway through the discussion, I want to also remind you all that, again, what we're doing is just laying out the evidence on the table. We're not really predicting anything. I'm not calling for any specific landfall sites or any kind of impacts or damage or saying that you need to start getting prepared. However, I will caveat that by saying if you're in the Caribbean, if you're watching from somewhere in the Caribbean, I would definitely recommend you start brushing up on those plans. You take a look at what you have in your inventory and start to make a couple of leisurely trips to the grocery store, to the supermarket, to the big lots, just to be on the safe side. For us here in the United States, let's hold off. Let's not panic. Let's not sound the alarm, because we still have to spend a lot of time with this feature before we can truly dial anything in. I'm going to give it a second because it looks like we're lagging again for some reason. My OBS looks good. I don't know why YouTube is giving me an error. Very strange. So conditions in the Gulf could be a little iffy. It really depends. A lot of it is going to be based on timing. So what I'll do is I'm going to close out a couple of these charts just to save the bandwidth on this computer and hopefully not congest. This is another thing too. I'm glad I accidentally clicked over to this because I also want to show you our latest velocity anomalies. This is also where I do think that the AI model and the operational physics models are kind of differing, and why maybe the artificial Euro doesn't want to develop it just yet. Because if you notice, especially on the control member here, we are really starting to see an increase in rising motions and divergence through the Caribbean as we go through the 21st to about Halloween, just around Halloween. And that is vastly different from where we have it on the AI ensembles. I'll show you that right now. Let's go ahead and do a bit of a compare and contrast. I noticed this yesterday during an Instagram live stream that we do have a very big discontinuity between our velocities on the AI versus, look at that, versus the actual operational model. In fact, the AI model brings in a suppressed phase even stronger than that of where we are right now. The AI says that we are just now getting ready to enter a sinking phase, an unfavorable setup, highest up in the atmosphere, and it's only going to get more hostile as we get closer to the second half of October. So I'm not sure why this is. All of our other computer models, the GFS, believe it or not, the Euro, as you just saw, the climate forecast system, the CFS, all show this favorable window. The JMA as well shows this favorable window lasting out through to about the 27th or the 28th, which is when this thing could possibly be sparking up. So we'll have to see. We will have to see. But this is where I think that the discrepancy lies. The fact that we've got an enormous phase of sinking motions that the Euro AI model favors, and it's been trending a little bit stronger with those sinking motions as well. I mean, it's kind of perking up there a little bit. If you look at the latest, as of 12 Zulu earlier today, we're kind of starting to see the makings of something favorable crawling out of there. It's maybe coming around. We might start to see a bit of a change. But if you notice, all the way through there, it's been very hostile. It wasn't until earlier today now you can see there's a bit of a break in that suppressed phase. Very different from what we have here. Very different from what we have here. And again, the GEFS, the GFS ensemble mean, also shows roughly the same thing. Pretty favorable setup as we go right through those dates. The 21st all the way out to Halloween, which echoes the same sentiment as the Euro. Not too sure why some of us are having intermittent issues in the stream. And no, not at all, Kevin McGinn. I'm not going to do that right now. Definitely not going to do that right now. We're still a little too far out. Right now, we're looking at general conditions and what the track trends are looking like. Let's go back over to Weather Nerds, see if our Gen C has come out just yet. I want to stay on the live stream until this comes out. I just want to see what the trend is for this model. It'll probably be out in another couple minutes. I think it comes out at the top of the hour here. So everything seems to be in line for the optimal setup out there in the Caribbean. It's just a matter of getting the wave in there, and I don't see any huge detriments to stopping it from doing so. So if I had to give you a very early prognosis, I would definitely say that the Windward Islands need to be bracing for impact. And when I say bracing, I don't mean we're looking at a hurricane coming through and you're going to have your worlds rocked. But I'm saying we're going to have a tropical wave that could possibly be amplifying as it comes through. So you're going to see some heavier rainfall. Your winds are possibly going to get fairly gusty as it moves off towards the west. But we're not looking at anything disastrous or anything catastrophic, thankfully. It won't be until beyond that where the gates possibly open up into the Central Caribbean and then we go off the chain. We come out of pocket. By the way, did we all see, has everyone gotten a chance, or did I post it yesterday? I'm pretty sure I showed the Climate Prediction Center update yesterday. If you guys have not seen that yet, I'll go ahead and pull that up now while we await the ever-anticipated Gen C model run. There's our latest global tropics. I'm pretty sure I had this up, and I know I shared it on my Instagram story, but you can see that CPC is definitely seeing exactly what we're seeing between the 22nd to the 28th of October. That looks to be the formation zone. We're going to really favor the Caribbean, especially now that La Nina has fully established itself. We've seen a little bit of a cooling trend up there with that anomalously strong PDO. The negative PDO has come down a little bit, and that also could possibly be what's helping to intensify the jet stream over the mid-latitudes and kind of correcting for what the pattern we've seen for the last couple months now. I fully agree, Sean. I do. I fully agree, because it's going to catch a lot of people off guard. And that, folks, for the 300-plus people watching right now, that is the key takeaway in this live discussion. I promise you that. Well, I'm not going to be here to make you panic. I'm not going to be here to say, go hit the store, buy the toilet paper, get the cat food, all that jazz. We're not there yet. All I'm trying to do with this live discussion is get as many eyes on it as possible. That's it. We just got to pay attention. That's all we can do right now. We just have to watch, because we have not seen anything down in such a densely populated area yet. This entire hurricane season has been categorized pretty much like 2023. But even in 2023, we still had a major hurricane hit Florida in the form of Idalia. So it goes to show the analogy, it only takes one, really hits home. And that's the key takeaway from this live stream for everybody watching right now. This is not to go crazy or ramp up the views and, get everybody riled up. No, I just want awareness. I'm big on situational awareness, and that's all I'm trying to do is just show you all what's going on, what I'm watching, and why it is that has me concerned. And I know that a lot of people have taken their foot off the gas pedal in terms of this hurricane season because it hasn't really done much for many of us in the United States. We had Chantal earlier this hurricane season make landfall in the Carolinas, and I feel like that storm was already forgotten. Same thing with Barry having made landfall into eastern Mexico and causing the flood conditions in central Texas. That was probably forgotten. So right now, all we can do is just watch it. Just know that it's on my radar, and every chance that I get, I'm going to update you guys with as accurate and reliable of information that I can possibly provide for you. So I will go ahead and start taking some questions. I want to go back and show you let's see if this is going to lag again. Okay, good. It looks like we're not lagging anymore. This is why I'm also more concerned about this thing lifting towards the north. Because if you notice, and I've seen some folks out there compare this to Sarah. I've seen a lot of folks out there saying that the most likely outcome is crashing into Central America as a weak system. I don't buy that on first glance. This is a totally different pattern. Last hurricane season, when Sarah was around, we were on and off with that negative PNA and a big old ridge really establishing itself over the westernmost Atlantic, reaching across Florida. If you look here on October 25th, that is far from the picture that we have here. Now we're out to the 27th. Far from the same picture that we have there. Obviously, this is probably going to adjust back and forth, but what I'm really looking at here is not specifically where features are. It's more so what the features are doing as they move through the pattern. And notice we stay in a really amped up jet stream. I'll switch us over to our 250 millibar winds and look at that. Very meridional pattern with a very strong finger of the jet working its way over the North Pacific. That's only going to aggravate the jet stream even more. So as a result of that, if this were more west to east zonal flow, then yeah, I'd fully be on board with, this ain't a big deal. It's probably not going to have time to work itself out. It'll crash into Central America, unfortunately for you all, but it doesn't really have a chance of coming up. In this case, with a positive PNA forecast to be overhead, I mean, look at this. This is the GEFS, the GFS ensemble showing between the 23rd out to just before Halloween, a nice trough axis building in over the eastern United States, and then we dip back in. So even as we dip towards that negative, we're going to have that transitional period to where something could still get yanked up out of there. You switch over to your Euro ensembles, and even greater of that positive PNA signal, which means trough extending down over the eastern U.S. So if anything, if I had to give an early analog, this might be the one thing that some folks may be able to manipulate and say, you're sensationalizing, you're making it scary. The only analog that comes to mind is not Wilma, not Charlie, not Sarah, but Ian. Ian definitely comes to mind in this case because Ian came across the MDR as a decent but weird-looking tropical wave. It came through the Lesser Antilles as a very heavily sheared tropical wave. It was all kinds of dorked up because of the wind shear, but then as soon as it got between Jamaica and the Cayman Islands, it popped off and then came up because of that trough and the front coming down. So if I had to make an early comparison, I would say Ian is probably one of our earlier analogs, one of our precursor analogs. We won't exactly know what an analog could be for this system or what analogs could be, because we don't have the system yet. We don't even have an invest. And I'm low-key kind of rooting for them to invest it after the next 5 or 7 days, because I'm curious, really curious to see what our hurricane models do. Very, very, very curious. If we're seeing, just to put it into perspective, I forgot, I hadn't shown you the euro yet, but I do also want to show you the Canadian model. And this is only a one-off. I'm going to show you the Canadian model just for the sake of kind of putting things into perspective. That's all I'm doing, is I'm just going to show you the Canadian model. It's going to change. It's been very volatile, but I just want to show you the ceiling here. This is the afternoon Canadian model, and watch this. The Canadian model cranks this thing to a near sub 960 major hurricane. We have not seen the Canadian model, everybody, to put it into perspective, and I know I'm getting a little excited, but the main reason why is the Canadian model hasn't really shown a major hurricane, even when major hurricanes were active on the board. Even when Gabrielle, when Imelda, when Umberto, when Aaron out there were major hurricanes, when Umberto and Aaron were Cat 5s, the Canadian model initialized as a Cat 1, a Cat 2. The Canadian model has a major hurricane out there now. That shows you the ceiling for this event. And again, I'm not showing you the model run so you can get scared in Jamaica, so you can get scared in the Cayman Islands, or anything like that. I'm showing you the ceiling here. If the Canadian model, a model that it's like pulling teeth to get it to show a Cat 3, shows a Category 4 hurricane out there, it shows the ceiling. Hurricane Sandy is not an analog. Hurricane Sandy is far from an analog. This would not be a Sandy-type setup. Jason Millington, in layman's terms, 960 millibars would be approaching Category 4 hurricane strength when you do the conversion. That's a very strong system. And the main reason I'm showing this to you right now is just to put it into perspective that the Canadian model never even showed a major hurricane when there was an active major hurricane out there. To me, that's a little mind-blowing. I'll show you what the European model run from earlier today had for us at 12 Zulu as well, since I told you all you guys wanted to see it. So here comes the tropical wave, develops right inside that range ring, 75 to 85 longitude. And then check this out. Goes right on into Belize, the Yucatan Peninsula, and then bounces back, comes at us. .960 could be a Cat 3. I would argue Cat 3 headed for Category 4 intensity. We've had a lot of weak Category 1s this hurricane season. If it's a big old broad system, we can have a deep, low-pressure center, but still Category 2, Category 3. I don't think this is going to be a huge system, so as this rapidly deepens and begins to spin, these intensities will go up quick. That's the difference between larger and smaller systems. I got to take a drink. No, Mr. Man JJ, I don't think it's going to develop before the islands. I do not think it's going to develop before the islands. I don't think it's going to develop right after the islands. I think it's going to develop in the Central Caribbean. That's why if I had to create a bit of an analog, it would probably be Ian. It would probably be Ian. Well, yes, if you take that bare bones chart and you look at the chart, because I know what you're all referencing right now. I know what you're all referencing right now, and you don't want to go by that. That's why they've discontinued that. You don't want to go by this. Don't go by this. This has been so badly phased out. You don't want to go by this. That's why they do not use this as much anymore. They'd rather go off the Dvorak scale, and they'd rather go off of reconnaissance data. They'd rather go off of actual thunderstorms, convection, and structure. Don't go off of this. I've seen so many category 1s much higher than that. I've seen so many category 2s much higher than that. I've seen a lot of category 3s and a lot of category 4s much higher than that. You don't want to go off of that. And regardless, a deepening system that goes from 970 down to 960 in about 24 hours shows that it's rapidly intensifying, so we are on our way to Category 4 status. And once again, y'all are kind of missing the perspective here that I'm trying to give you. Again, we're talking about, you're focusing on the storm. I'm not focusing on the storm here. I'm focusing on the ceiling. If we have frugal models and bearish models that struggle to show even a Category 2 are showing a rapidly intensifying major hurricane, it puts things into perspective that, okay, that says something. Ian ripped through Central Florida, yes. Ian ripped through Central Florida. And we're live streaming for an event 8 days away because there's hundreds of thousands of people that could be impacted within the next 5 days, Kenzo asks. Why are we streaming for an event 8 days away? Because Florida isn't the only state on the globe. That's another thing too. We got to get out of that mindset. I don't think everybody's going to get out of that mindset, but when I look at these storms and when we track these systems, I'm not focusing on my neighborhood. I'm not focusing on any one specific neighborhood. I'm focusing on the fact that we've had little to no impacts through this hurricane season, and all of a sudden now thousands of people could be impacted by a system. That's the kicker here. Big change of pace. Big change of pace. All right, well, it's 9:12. Let's go ahead and see if we've gotten our Gen C. Still not in yet. Wow. Still not in yet. What is going on here? Why is it taking so long? No, we still have 18Z from yesterday in, so nothing for 18Z tonight. I really want to see these ensembles before we discontinue the stream, but I do have to be up early for leg day tomorrow, so I may just have to cut it short anyways. Wilma, I would not say is an analog. I would not say Wilma is an analog. Different scenario. Although, I got to look at the steering. I got to look at the steering as it gets closer to the west side of the Caribbean, because maybe it is. But based on the fact that we're looking at a slower recurving back around tells me that something's got to be different in the pattern. So we'll have to see. Oh, Critty J841, easy. Cat 5. Hands down. This would be a cool Cat 5. And when I say cool, I don't mean sick. I mean just an easy... This would easily be our third Category 5 of the season, for sure. Helen Hunter, if this gets into the Gulf, it's not going towards Mississippi, Louisiana, or Texas. There's no way. This would definitely be, if it gets into the Gulf, it's definitely going to be an Eastern Gulf situation pointed at either somehow as far left as Alabama or Florida. In fact, I would say the margin of error right now is between central Cuba and the northern Bahamas to about the Big Bend of Florida. That's where I would say my margin of error is. If we take that style of track, let me echo that as well. If we take that track, I would say over the Cayman Islands, over central Cuba, and then up through the Bahamas, missing Florida by a hair, or back up through the peninsula. I don't see the passage. I don't see the Panhandle or Alabama or anything being an issue for this one. I really don't. With as amplified as the pattern is, it's either going to go left or it's going to go hard right. That's what I would say. Don't think it'll go stationary either. We're not going to see a dropping of the steering currents and falling into a neutral wind pattern. That's not going to happen. It could move slowly. As we go in between systems, in between long wave features, but it's not going to stall out. That's not on the table. It does and it doesn't. It does and it doesn't. I would definitely say Ian is a far more comparable analog this early on. And when I say Ian, I'm talking about it's traveling through the Antilles and into the Caribbean. I also want to point that out as well. When I say Hurricane Ian is an analog, I'm not talking about what happened in Florida. I'm talking about the development pathway. Because if you look at the trend, and as a matter of, let's just go ahead. We got to kill some time. We got to kill some time, so why not? Let's all take a trip on YouTube here, and we'll go ahead and let's take a look. I want to show you the early life cycle of Hurricane Ian. Here we go. Turn the volume down. You see what I mean? Right out of the gate, right from the get-go, when this thing starts the satellite loop, see how you can't even see anything. You can't even see it. There's a wave in there, and it's spinning, but if you look at this, as it moves south of Puerto Rico, there's nothing to it. There's a lot of northerly shear that's coming across the wave axis, so it looks very sloppy. A little bit of a convective burst. Note that northeasterly wind shear. Look at how displaced the low-level spin is from the mid-level spin. If you got your low-level spin totally naked south of the Dominican Republic, and then your mid-level spin southwest of it. But then as we get south of Jamaica and the Cayman Islands, there we go. Now we're seeing everything co-locate. We finally have our mid-level and our low-level spins full-on in line with each other, and then we start to develop. That right there is why I say that this reminds me a lot of Hurricane Ian. From here on in, I'm not looking at the impacts and all that, Florida. That's not what I'm looking at. I'm looking at the development pathway. How do we get the storm? What does the wave go through? What does this, what does that happen to where we see the storm develop? And that to me looks very similar. Very, very similar. If you look at Wilma, for example, how Wilma developed, totally different spot, totally different mechanism, totally different, better looking wave, and then it exploded. So, Irma was also a tropical wave. It went north of the islands, though. North of the islands. All right, we're coming up on 9:20. We got to get the Gen C data in. It's still not in just yet. I don't know why it's taken so long. So I will go ahead and answer a few more questions, and then we may have to just go ahead and cut the live stream because it's getting late. It could, Michael J. It could. We still have some decent forcing coming at us into November, so we'll have to see what happens in November. I feel like there is the chance to squeak out one more named storm, get Nestor on the board as we go through November. We'll see. The conditions are there. We won't fully be shut down just yet, but we're going to also see hostility going up throughout the tropics just because of the time of year. Climatologically speaking, Daddy Shark, that's why I haven't said anything about Tampa. Right now, we're just looking at what could get the storm on the board. That's it. We're looking at what could get the storm on the board and what the ceiling is for a storm in the Caribbean. Not really concerned for Florida. Is Florida in the trend? Oh, yeah, Florida's on the game board, but still too far out to really worry about it. It's my friends out there in the Lesser Antilles, my folks in Jamaica, the Cayman Islands, and Central America who should kind of step up their watching. Freddie Jones, I don't think there's going to be anything headed for Alabama. This doesn't look like an Alabama-type setup. I don't see Alabama being a thing for this. I'm going to try my Epic Pen at least once and hope that it doesn't lag. I'll zoom you on down in so I can draw a little bit with you. Right now, my two most likely outcomes, if the formation happens, if we see a tropical storm develop, this here would probably be scenario, there it goes, it's already lagging. This here would probably be scenario number 1. Jeez, come on. As soon as I pulled it up, Epic Pen started going crazy. That would be scenario number 1. This would be scenario, oh my goodness. This is why I didn't want to pull it up. This would be scenario number 2. I think these are our scenarios here. It either escapes and avoids the United States and moves up through the islands here, or comes into the Florida Peninsula, scrapes the east coast of the United States, or it manages to miss its ride out of there, stays fairly weak, and then collapses into Central America. Alexis, excellent question. So I think as early as tomorrow morning, we could see a tag, because some of our other computer models do develop it within the 7-day range. Let me show you, for example, the UK model. As a matter of fact, you can even see it in the temperatures there. Look at that. You can kind of see the little spin in the Caribbean there, just in your temperature gradient. But if you look at your 850 winds, there it is. You can see a tropical cyclone developing. And this is by Wednesday, 8 a.m. So that's definitely within 7 days now. Same thing with the Korean model. The Icon model definitely goes about spinning it up. Even on 18 Zulu, it starts to show development beginning to take shape down there in the Central Caribbean. So that's definitely within 7 days. I think the Canadian model is also within 7 days. So we're like right there. Could be as early as tomorrow morning. I think at the very latest, we tag this on National Hurricane Center's page by Friday at the latest. But if I were them, I would stamp it sooner than later. I would. We've stamped some silly things out there this hurricane season, and this is one that is going to be in an area where there's people all around it, so I would stamp it. If I were at the desk, I'd probably stamp this first thing in the morning. Let's give it another 12 hours, get us inside that window just a little bit more, see what the early morning model runs look like, and then stamp it. Give it that 0 for 20. There's nothing wrong with that. Just like in Air Force weather, they taught us that the watches are freebies. You issue a severe thunderstorm watch, you issue a tornado watch, you issue a damaging wind watch. It's just a watch. We're watching. That's it. So in my opinion, if you issue a 0 for 20 down there, I'd go ahead and slap it on there as soon as we get to the 8 o'clock update or even 2 o'clock. Why not? It's not doing anything. 0 for 20. 0% it develops in 2 days. 20% over the next 7 days is a low chance. That's how all the broadcast meteorologists spin it. 20% means very low development chances. Go ahead and tag it. Go ahead and tag it. And yeah, whoever Ephraim asks about the GFS is garbage. I would throw that thing in the trash. All the convective feedback and the Venezuela, what they call spurious vorticity that just comes out of nowhere. That's why we got a Publix buy one, get one free down there. You had the actual system go randomly back this way, and then we had another system go back towards Central America. Casey Nicole, I fully agree. Fully agree. Rather be alerted than uninformed, and that's all we're doing. This whole live stream, to answer the one person who asked earlier, why are we streaming for something 8 days away? Just to get eyes on. I just want eyes on. That's it. I just want eyes on. Okay, 9:23. Let's see if we've gotten our Gen C in yet. Hey, there it is. There we go. Okay. Let's see. Let's go out to 7 days. 7 days has one member. Let's go out to 10 days. 10 days has development closer to the Central America landmass, and let's go all the way to the end of the run. Kind of the same thing that we saw at 12Z. Kind of the same thing. A little bit of a downward trend, too, I will admit. Gen C's kind of not falling off of it, but they're definitely not showing the same thing. Definitely lost some members in here, but it's still showing that same general kind of tendency there in the tracks. So we'll have to see. This is why I don't want us sounding any major alarms just yet. Would I tag it? 150%, just so, again, we can get some eyes on it down there. But am I growing extremely concerned for folks in the United States? Not just yet. We got to see what happens. Right now, we're just looking at the ceiling and what it'll take to get a storm down there. All the signals do say we are a go for at least development. And regardless, this is literally the only Ensemble. If you all think about it, this is the only Ensemble product that doesn't show a healthy signal like that. So can't really sit there and say that it's a downtrend or anything like that. So I've noticed that the Gen C has always been the most finicky of all the Ensemble members there. Have we seen 18Z come in just yet for this? Oh, not yet. There we go. There's the Euro 18Z showing some early development out there near towards the Lesser Antilles. I think that's still too early, though. I think that's overcooked. So that's that. Now we're going to go ahead and wrap up. I'm going to rush through. Oh, shoot. I haven't even eaten anything. I have not eaten since this afternoon. I just realized that. So I'm going to have to go stuff myself with something fast. This is the gyre. The gyre's down there. The gyre, I think, actually took shape maybe about a week and a half, 2 weeks ago, something like that. I know it's been down there. It was definitely showing up not so long ago. If I show you this here, you can kind of still see the makings of it. Not as much now, though, because this front has come down and really disrupted the flow. But if you were to rewind this maybe 4 to 5 days, you could definitely see how we had a really good focusing in our upper level flow, as well as a ton of showers and thunderstorms down there. That's another thing I want to remind everybody who's still in the stream right now is you got to remember when I say things like the gyre, that is entirely separate of a tropical system. Sometimes the gyre can in of itself shrink down and actually become a low pressure system, but the gyre is only another tool. The gyre is only another feature that helps to supplement tropical development. I remember I got so much flack one time when I had the gyre symbol on the thumbnail with different arrows, and everyone was like, clickbait. It's like, that's literally what the gyre is. The gyre pulls in energy and can sometimes spit it out as a tropical feature. It's literally what it is. But the gyre is totally separate of tropical systems. Tropical waves and other pieces of energy and fragments like that can get caught up in the gyre, which is just focused lift. And that's where the significant storms come out of. But if I show you the actual wind flow down there, we'll even use the AI model. The AI model has been the most frugal with trying to develop it in terms of the operational run. But if you look at your upper level winds, you can definitely see the gyre symbol down there plain as day. There you go. Look at all that really good upper level northwesterly shear coming across, not shear, upper level flow coming across Texas, upper Mexico through the Yucatan, and then there's all your divergence. Look at that. Nice quadrant of difluent flow right in there. That's where your lift is focused. That's your Central American gyre right there. That's why I'm kind of confused as to why this model doesn't want to develop it. That is an excellent setup down there. That's a proper setup down there. And this is the only model that's still, I mean, look at that. You've got as much lift and anticyclonic outflow as you could possibly ask for. So I don't know. Not too sure. I guess we'll have to wait and see. The ensembles definitely paint a different story. The operational run does not look like it's ensembles at all. The ensembles are showing a pretty good signal for something lifting up out of there. And if you notice, as a matter of fact, the AI ensemble here has completely almost done away entirely with our west movement there. We get maybe a couple of very weak members, but the general trend here is where we were looking earlier. So that's all she wrote, everybody. Thank you so much for sticking around and bearing with the technical difficulties that we had. I do sincerely apologize for the technical difficulties, even though it was out of my hands this time. Thank goodness it wasn't the internet or OBS or anything like that. We managed to get through a live discussion, longest one we've had in a while. I think I saw someone by the name of Jennifer donated $20 to the stream as well. I do sincerely appreciate that. Let me go back up in the stream and make sure I see that. There we go. Jennifer C. says, thank you for hanging in through the YouTube issues to provide us important information. Going to give you a big heart. Thank you so much for your generosity. It means a lot, especially through that latency. I don't know what was going on there. So thank you all for watching. We'll go ahead and get ready to close out now. We'll talk to you again very soon. Probably won't put out a video tomorrow or do another live stream. If anything, we're looking at Friday, although Friday is going to be weird because they have me working nights that day. So if anything, Friday will probably be more of a video, and then maybe we'll do some kind of early in the day Saturday live discussion. But regardless, I'm definitely going to have updates flowing your way in one way, shape, or form as we go through the next 5, 7, 10 days together. And remember, we're not freaking out just yet. There's no reason to be overly concerned or flooding the stores. All I really want is just some awareness here, because this is a big change. This is a big difference than the other signals we've tracked all hurricane season, especially with things like Aaron and Imelda, where everybody was talking west shifts. Everything's shifting west. And like, we've had a lot of west shifts and then nothing's happened. In this case, this could form in a place that a lot of things could happen, and then even more things could happen if things continue to optimize for it. So big change of pace, and I just don't want anyone to be caught off guard. So we'll talk to you again very soon. Have a great rest of your Wednesday night. I hope the first half of the week has treated you well and you continue to have a positive week for the next 3 days. Tomorrow is Friday Eve, and we'll see what happens this weekend. We'll see what happens over the next 48 hours if National Hurricane Center gets on the ball and tags this thing or not. I really think they should. I really think it would be wise of them by tomorrow morning to have a blip down there, but we'll see. We'll see. We'll have to give it a little more time. Famous last words. But until next time, everybody, have a wonderful night. Stay safe out there. We'll see you again soon. This is Weather Center Nazario signing out.